Hi everyone, welcome to CMC Conversations. I'm Parishi and I'm a class of 26 here at CMC. And today we're interviewing two of our alumni who are both class of 98, Amy and DT. Hi, welcome on.
Thank you.
So tell me about what your student life was like when you were on campus.
I think for me, it's centered around my suite mates in our dorm, probably, and then sports, just because we were there every day, and sometimes during training season, twice a day. So probably hung out a lot with teammates, and then a lot with the people in my dorm, outside of probably like study groups for classes. But I don't know, what about you?
Yeah, so for sure sports. I was also an athlete, so I had all my teammates. I was a science major, so I spent a lot of time at Keck Science, a ton of time in the lab and with those folks trying to understand what I was doing. Those classes did not come naturally to me, so I had a lot of study groups.
Yes.
And my social circle, I came to CMC with a roommate that on paper, I was like, oh, this is never going to work. And I know she had the same view. And then we got together and we just 100% clicked. We actually lived together the whole time we were here. And so, but she had a very different social circle than I did. And so on weekends and stuff, when we would all hang out, it was really good because for both of us, I think we got to know people kind of outside of what would have otherwise been our typical social circle. But I think in terms of activity, it looks very similar to now, like a lot of just get-togethers. People like to hang out. We always took advantage of the outdoor spaces. Green Beach was always lively.
Yeah, Green Beach. I was going to say, like, even like going to the app for snacks just study sessions. I think we'd go to like Honnold sometimes. I would go there. Trying to think what other things. Intramural sports too, maybe.
Yeah. We did a lot of inner tube water polo.
Yeah,
we were both really good.
Inner tube water polo?
Do you guys play that anymore?
Oh yeah,
I don't know what that is.
I'm pretty sure you're missing out. You gotta get on board with this stuff.
You're on in a huge inner tube, and then you pass around a water polo ball and try to make a goal, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're
Is it
literally
like
playing
a
water polo in a tube.
Inflatable pool?
It's in the pool. It's at the varsity pool.
I think each dorm has a team.
Yeah.
And I think it's in the fall.
Usually.
Okay.
It's really fun.
I'm gonna have to look into that. I mean, I've heard a lot about CMC's work hard, play hard mentality, and I've seen it myself. People grind really hard when it comes to school, but then they also know how to have a great time. Was that something that you guys experienced?
What do you think? I mean,
I think so. I mean, well, I lived in North Quad, and I think it's a very social place, so I always feel like there's always like someone hosting a party or going to a party. I don't know.
Yeah. I think, so the idea of like work hard, play hard has kind of this weird connotation for me because it sort of suggests almost like a level of recklessness in it, sort of this like abandon. And I don't actually feel like that's how CMCers are now or then. I actually feel like they're very focused. There's a lot of ambition, a lot of kind of like direction. And so when you work hard, you do it because there's like an intentionality and there's a goal and there's like this thing that you're trying to accomplish, and you got to go all in on that. And then the play part of it is, to me, it's more like, don't take yourself so seriously. Like, relax a little and have fun. Like college is so different. It's like one of the only times in your life it actually gets to be pretty much all about you. Like you get to sort of center yourself in the people in your social circles, but so you can take some like conscientious risks and you can have a really good time. And I think supporting one another, like that's the thing that I've always loved about CMC too. Like it's not that cutthroat competitive, like climb on top of one another to get to the top. There's sort of this sense that there's enough to go around. And so,
help each other out.
Yeah, like I mean, I remember celebrating her victories and feeling super supported, and also, I don't know how it feels for you now. For us then, it's so small that like there's no real anonymity, and that's uncomfortable for some people, but I think for me, and I suspect for Amy too, there was some real benefit in that because on days when things weren't going great, like I can think of some days that were really bad, right? So sad or so homesick. I knew that I had people around me that were seeing me. Like I wasn't invisible here and like helped lift me up. And so it's different kind of than that work hard, play hard, but it's that concept of like, we're going to give it everything we've got, kind of no matter what we're doing. And I loved that about being a student here. How does it feel for you? I mean,
I think that being on campus, I've had days where I'm not feeling too great, but I just decide, you know what, I'm just going to go on a walk, go walk to the hub. Sometimes I just go to the hub to get a cup of water, and I'll happen to see people I know, and my mood just goes up by a lot just because I have a nice conversation, kind of get my mind off of what's bothering me for a bit. And I think that's what's so nice about the environment. Right. When you're walking around, you're going to see someone, you're going to say hi, stop and have a conversation. And I really do like that because it allows you to kind of just be so close with all these people, whereas I feel like in a bigger school, that anonymity is really there. Yeah. And I think I've had friends tell me that it can get kind of lonely when you're only friends with people by proximity. Yeah.
I think it's helpful too if you have a good RA too who kind of like checks in. Sure. Like I feel like that's always been helpful, or just like having a community of friends to count on, or who will pop in at just random times to be like, what are you doing, and I feel like that can be helpful. Like I remember studying and like just typing out, I think I was working on my thesis, and my roommate, or like not my roommate, but a friend came by, and she's like knocked on my door, and she's like, what are you up to? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally need a break, like let's chat, and so she'd come in and we just like hang for a few minutes, and it was just like the perfect amount of like a break a brain break, just to like catch up and take my mind off, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go again.
When I lived in Berger my freshman year, we used to literally call it playtime, and so at midnight for 15 minutes, everybody would just like converge in the hallways, and we would dance, and we would like sing and just be goofy and ridiculous. That's so nice. And then we'd like go back to what we were doing, but it was nice. Like there's some kind of solidarity in that, like we're all kind of have the shared experience. So
I mean, we have midnight snack, and that's the time when a lot of
like we would drive to Donut Man San Dimas my senior year just to like get snacks.
Lots of money spent on pizza. You have it good now.
I mean, it's not even midnight, but it's like 10:30 to 11:30, and that's like a time where a lot of students are studying, and we're kind of at that point where, oh my God, I'm so tired. Right. So you get that nice little break, and you get to see people so that's fun.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
We so taco. That's what we used to do.
Yeah, we do that too.
Or Yogurtland.
21 Choices.
That's not Yogurtland.
Yeah. I've never been to 21 Choices. I have to check that one out.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
But, I mean, so rather than work hard, play hard, I think you'd say it's more of a work-life balance that CMC students are able to find, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like, if you're going to do it, like, do it well, And the idea of work-life balance, probably, I mean, for Amy and I, we're parents now also. So that phrase, like, has a whole new kind of meaning now, like, we want to show up for our kids and show up for our partners and show up for our jobs and show up for our, everybody we're kind of like beholden to. But I think that that's for me for sure, part of what I got out of CMC. It's this idea of like quality matters. And so if you're going to say yes, then mean it, right? Like go in and say yes. And it's not always balanced. Like I would love it if it was this beautiful ratio and I just moved seamlessly from one thing to the next, and it's never really like that. I have some days where I feel really stressed out, but I feel super committed to the things I've decided to commit to, which makes that feel easier to manage. I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking like when you were asking like about leadership and what we've kind of taken away from that, or what we got out of CMC, I think one of the things is always striving for excellence. Yeah. And so just whatever you're choosing to not to be perfect, I think that's different, but to just do your best and to do it as well as you can. And so I think, same, like the responsibilities or the things I've decided to take on, I'm going to do it like 100%, as much as I can.
Yeah.
Not 100%. You can't give 100% to everything, but to try to do it as best you can and as well as you can, and to really commit to it, and just strive for excellence.
I think it's one of the things I hope for you, Parishi, because I have gotten to know you just a little bit over the last year, and you, like so many CMCers, have so many interests and talents and like capacities, right? And you have to be discerning, right, in what you decide is going to matter and what you're going to pick up, because otherwise it becomes almost like a credentialing arms race where you just have this amass of bullets that don't really mean a lot, right? And it spreads you thin, and so then you start to lose that idea of like enrichment. Like, what is it all about? You want to be able to make meaning from things, and that's a tricky thing to strike when you're young. I mean, I remember feeling it here. Like I was involved in so many things. And I liked it. I mean, it was good to be involved in that many things. But I sometimes wonder, looking back, like, gosh, like if I hadn't done maybe one or two of those things, I might have like gone to the Ath more, or I might have, met some more people and like just sort of expanded outward a little more.
I think it's the same thing too. I took on a lot of things as well, but then I almost feel like you have to kind of go through that process to determine what you're really passionate about, or what you really like. Yeah, or what people.
That's a good point.
With.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, it's the economics of time. That's what I learned in Econ 50. What do I value more? Do I value spending time with my friends today and getting my mind off of things, or do I value doing the best I can in this class? And it's going to depend based on where you're at that time.
Right.
And I think that's very true. Where are you actually going to be putting your energy? Because we only have a limited amount of that. So if I want to really do good on this midterm, am I going to maybe cut down on some of my responsibilities for the week, and just where am I going to be putting my focus? And I think that's something that I've had to learn, because I used to think that you can do it all, but you can only really do what you're committed to.
Yeah. And if you adopt that, like in practice, you find that it actually starts to fill you up. So, right, because I think the way you sort of presented that, it's like this expenditure of energy, and it's true. Like you're giving of self to do these types of things. But when you really love it, there's also this like fill you back up moment, right? There's a reciprocity to the commitments that end up really fueling you. And so I've found at least that my capacity has actually exceeded what I thought it could be, because I was looking at it really as like I have this finite level of give and not thinking about the receipt. And so it becomes a little bit more of a virtuous cycle when you've found the things that really make you excited. I mean, there are days, I'm sure, where you go home so tired, like you just tumble into bed, but not feeling drained necessarily, right? Feeling like, wow, like I crushed that, right? That was a lot and I did it and it was worthwhile, and like, you don't resent the time that you put into it. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Satisfying.
I think, honestly, I feel like that's how to live a happy life. Like, give your energy to things that are going to give you energy back.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
But you're right, but it takes time to figure out what that is, and what drives you and what is fulfilling. So I feel like after graduating from Claremont, I went into the Army and I went to grad school and worked as well. And then once I had kids, I became a stay-at-home mom. And then now that they're older, I was like, okay, what do I want to do? And I didn't really want to go back to what I was doing, like being a project manager. So I felt like I was helping in my kids' classes, and I was realizing that I really loved helping in their classes. And I've had my own 7th and 8th grade combo class for a couple of years now, and it's so weird because I feel like I've had to rebuild or like transition to a whole new career so late in life, but I love it. And I feel like, I mean, it's taken this long, but I do feel good about it. Like, it requires so much energy and time, but at the end of the day, I'm like, oh my gosh, I had such a good day. I mean, some days aren't great, but I just feel like, oh, but I really loved it. Like, it's a learning process, and I enjoyed the process. So, anyway.
Totally.
I mean, you guys both work with students, and I think that takes a lot of leadership, that takes a lot of empathy as well. And I personally think that CMC is an environment where that can be cultivated. Do you guys feel like that's something that's presented itself?
I would just say, like, I think more when I was a project manager, the things that I think CMC taught was like having an opinion, but being open-minded enough to hear and consider other people's perspectives and opinions before deciding what kind of course of action I would take, or bringing out the best in other people. Like, I think more about our RA experience when we did more team bonding, and I feel like that's so important to like bond as a team, and then figure out like how you can best support each other, and then bring out the best, like whether it's a skill or area of expertise or gift or personality. Like, you bring the best to bring the project success, or group success.
Right.
So I feel like there's a lot of opportunity in like CMC classes that helped with that, especially the discussion. I think the discussions in class really help with that, and the critical thinking behind it, and
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think there's probably some generational differences also in the way like we kind of internalize that as compared to maybe you. When we were in school here, there were, no cell phones, right? Like we were literally dialing up to modems in our dorms to hopefully get a connection. It was like this amazing thing. No social media. None of that. No internet really. Like there's so many pieces. And so when Amy talks about that idea of like perspectives, offering a different perspective, taking in different perspectives, there was also a lot less danger of being like pigeonholed or making a mistake and having that mistake follow you. I think that I didn't view self-censorship in the same way I think maybe our students do now from a leadership perspective. I think for me, most of my self-censorship came from just my own insecurity, not because I thought like it was going to follow me forever or that I was going to make a mistake that I couldn't live down. And I worry for our students now a little bit with that because I think they are so brilliant. They have so many ideas and so many cool experiences and all of that. But as you're kind of grappling with who you are and like your positionality in this community, there's sometimes I sense a little bit of a reticence to like offer yourself up in whole because there's that little bit of risk and that kind of danger. And I don't really know how to grapple with that fully as you think about what leadership is going to ultimately mean for you as compared to the way Amy just described it. I think there's still a lot of parallels, but I wonder how much more our students now have to think about that stuff in a way that we didn't spend as much time concerned about.
Right.
So I think one big part of the whole idea of self-censorship versus actually expressing your opinion in terms of leadership is the way that you're communicating it. And there's a way to say something that people won't like to hear, and it can sound way worse than what you actually mean, and it can sound a lot better as well. Yeah. And I think one of the hallmarks of what CMC has looked like for me has been figuring out how to express myself.
Right.
And a lot of times I think empathy is in that equation. Who are these people? How do I communicate what I actually believe to these people in a way that they can actually digest and work with? And that's definitely been something that takes time and it takes a lot of practice. Yeah. But once you master that skill, I think that's a very unique thing to have, especially in the professional workplace and in your day-to-day life. I think good communication is really important.
Right. Yeah, I really like that conceptualization of empathy and like how you kind of acquire it. And I agree with you. I think it's so critical. And it's also so key to how you start to refine your own perspective, right? We all come into this place with a set of beliefs and things that have been sort of conditioned in us through parents and coaches and church leaders and, you name it, teachers, right? And then you get here and it's like, you start to meet all these people and suddenly it's like those things you thought to be really true don't line up with what you're experiencing day to day. And I think that concept of empathy is spot on. It's like, how do you take in that sort of dissonant information and do something with it? And if you have kind of that open-heartedness and that you come into it, that concept of like, people are generally really good. They generally have a lot to offer. There's generally like a value added in every interaction. It does. I think it cultivates the empathy part, which cultivates the leadership part. I think it also cultivates like compassion and gratitude and like all of these virtues that I think most of us would agree are virtuous, like matter. But I don't know. Yeah, I think that's a cool way to think about it.
Yeah. I think that's very true. Just learning how to put yourself in other people's shoes and understanding that we all have these different experiences that shape how we think. And that openness, I think, is something that I've learned to cultivate in myself recently. And I see it in the classroom. I see it in the discussions that I've been having. I had a 6-person FWS class, Literature of the 50s and 60s.
Nice.
And I really liked that class. I really liked that because it was just 6 people, and it's a lot less intimidating to really speak your mind when there's only 5 other people compared to when you're in a large seminar-style class, or, lecture-style class,
Yeah, probably more trust, I would imagine, right? You start to kind of get to know each other a little bit more and I mean, it kind of goes back to that no anonymity, and there's a lot of intimacies here. So, when you're in a 6-person class and then you are at the dining hall with them and they might live down the hall, and it's like this whole system that you're trying to navigate, which is really different than most environments in the rest of your life. Like we do our thing and then we go home at night, and there's like a different detachment. Yeah, a little separation. You can like process the things that didn't go great in the day and not worry that it's spinning out of control down the hall and like that kind of thing. So it does feel a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I think the smallness or the closeness of it is like so important too, because you really end up caring for a lot of the people,
Exactly.
right? And
Yes.
so the way, like you were saying earlier, like the way you deliver something or say something, of
Right.
course, like you're going to mean it, like it'll come from a deeper place and not just like a flippant, right?
Yes.
Comment, which I think then you take care in your words and you're more
Right.
thoughtful,
Right.
which is also like great to be
Yeah.
a leader too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
taking care of the people around you.
Yeah. I remember feeling that very acutely as an RA, like in our cohort. There was one day in particular, a friend of one of our RAs, a co-RA, had a really, really awful week, like just one thing after the next, and we all felt it because it was a small cohort. And when I had left for school, my grandpa had given me a stone. It was just like a stone that he carried. And for him, it was just this sort of like symbol of like strength and resilience, and like people see you and care about you. And he had like given it to me. And I gave it to that friend that day, and I told him the story. I'm like, hang in there, you've got this. And it was like a very simple moment. But what happened weeks later was that I had like the worst. Like I was a mess. And I remember I was at Vaughn's, like up the street, doing something. I lived in the senior apartment, so I was probably grocery shopping, and I was a mess, like teary. It was just horrible. And it happened that same guy was there, and he had been carrying that stone with him the whole time, and he just like passed me in the aisle, I don't even remember what aisle I was in, and handed me the stone and just kept going. And I was like a mess. But it was like exactly what you just said, right? It's that care, that somebody saw me in that moment and had the wherewithal to like offer this moment of care. And to me, that is like the cornerstone of our place. It's how the alumni function. It's how the faculty function. It's why people stay for a long time. It's why we come back for our reunions, And I think we have work to do. Like there's, is everybody seen? Do we always extend care? Are we really dialed into one another? And I think the answer is probably no, not at the level we need to be. But I hope, like some of our stories and stuff, like feel optimistic, right? That can be the defining piece of like your experience. Hopefully, like you'll in 20 years have these kinds of stories too. Yeah,
I hope so.
Yeah,
and I hope I have the sort of outlook that you guys have been able to develop. So I do want to ask, for me and just any other students or prospective students watching, what's a piece of advice that you'd give them that's kind of come from your CMC experience, something that you've learned?
I would probably say just take advantage of the closeness, like proximity, even geographically, with the people that you love and that you are supported by or encouraged by, because it goes by so fast. And I feel like after you graduate, you'll end up doing your different things and raising your own families. And it's just such a special time that you have here, and just being able to see each other or walk, do trips or take a walk together or play a game or just hang out or watch a movie. I mean, those times are so fleeting, but they're so precious. And to just enjoy it and soak it in. Like, of course, you're going to study hard because you're a CMCer, but just enjoy like the downtime too, and getting to establish those relationships with each other. Because I feel like they're lifelong. Like I still keep in touch with so many of my friends from CMC, and even when I come back, it's just such a joy. Like even getting to see DT, it's just so great. Like just getting to reconnect, and we've connected at other times, and it's just so special. Just to remember like our time.
I think that's perfect advice, and I would also say like, don't shortchange yourself. The workload is a lot, and it's worth it. It's why you're here, right? If you approach it as like, I'm here for everything she said, and I'm here for the academics and the degree and all of that, and don't lose sight of that. Like there's something really immensely powerful about getting to spend time learning and doing the reading and like grappling with the really hard concept and all of that, like it pays off in so many ways that aren't about the job at the end of the tunnel. So, you know, try to do the work, like get in there and love that part of it, because it can be so exhilarating.
I think that's really awesome. Okay, well, I really, really enjoyed this. This was super cool. Thank you so much for just coming on, sharing your perspective.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah,
this is such a cool program.
It was very fun.
Yeah,
Thank
well
you
done.
so much. All right, thank you.
Bye.